Alright guys, we're going to be doing solo cast today, as nobody's really all that around. Stu's around, but I'm benching him for a while and he knows why.
Rhapsody.
Anyway, figured get in a series before go to bed. Hell, maybe I'll even play some on after this. People are messaging me on Skype, so sorry about that. I have to put myself on D&D. Anyway, I'm going to be having Night Raid take on TangZangPang here. This is a round of 8 matchup, so I'm actually skipping ahead a little bit. I missed a series in the round of 16, haven't covered that, but we'll go back and deal with it later. So, anyway, Night Raid, former Diamond Division team, long-time Diamond Division team, fell down here to the Gold Division after they had some issues actually fielding 5. And that is apparently not a problem here, as Misery, King Plato, Cookies, Nightmares, and Present 25 are their full 5-man roster. So I guess the demotion to Gold Division have sort of made them take this seriously. And they took their round of 16 match earlier in this cycle up against Ride My Rocket, which is actually a pretty solid team, led by Imba Pingu over there. And it's an interesting, pretty good series, especially for Night Raid. Took it 2-0, and that's definitely a very positive sign for them, as they don't really want to be spending too much more time in gold if they can help it. And actually TZP is going to present a bit of a challenge here, in my opinion, against a team that should probably not be in gold, should probably be in diamond, but they're going to have to go through a solid squad, and we'll see how much resistance TZP puts up. Notable that actually Jonathan is playing in this game. I don't know if that's a permanent add. You can see the WOG tag, as he is a former member of Wake of Gods. May just be ringing for TZP for this cycle, and maybe not. Maybe it's a completely new addition. Notable that TZP actually after this cycle did change their name to the Slayer's Lub, and I believe that Ganal left the team, and I can actually go check their roster right now. Looks like I believe Yellow Train and Calcrapula stayed, Mech stayed, Ban Stan is the co-captain now, and Runkbeige is Runkabeige. I'm going to go with that. There's actually a substitute listed right now. They currently have a 5-man roster, so I wouldn't be surprised if, Jonathan is perhaps even a permanent addition to this TZP, now the Slayer's Lub Soulsy squad. But we're well into the draft phase, so let's go ahead and actually talk about the game here. Parasite and Ophelia taken out by Misery, Swiftblade, and Cthulhu, the standard bands from the Hellborn side. So jungle options quite limited here, and the Legion team will take advantage of that to pick up their very own Tempest. Hellborn going to counter with Kraken, so Tempest obviously tending to have some difficulties when played against a Kraken. Wouldn't be surprised to see if, I assume it's Cookies playing that. I believe he plays the Tempest when they run a jungler. It depends. They switch roles a fair bit on the Legion side. King Plato plays Parasite, I believe, and in that situation Cookies will play the carry. In general, though, King Plato is the carry player and Cookies is the jungler. Nightmares, I believe, the support player, and Present as the off-lane player. Anyway, so Cookies could have some issues setting up those Tempest holes with the Kraken up against him, as well as the Rhapsody and Magnus, both of whom have good ability to either stop the hole, or in Rhapsody's case, negate all the damage. So it means that the Tempest hole, not that effective, of course. It can be difficult to determine exactly where the range is, so you may end up walking into it. Have to be a little bit careful. Legion team going to complement that Tempest with Glacius, Pebbles, and now Bubbles. So some good team fight with Glacius and Bubbles, and some pretty fantastic initiation on Pebbles' side. Perhaps looking for another short laner here. If they're looking to run Bubbles in the suicide lane, Glacius, Pebbles mid, and probably a solo short laner. Unless they choose to run a short lane Pebbles, which is some teams' favorite. I'm not one of those teams. I think if you're going to run a Pebbles, you probably want to be that more initiator type. He doesn't provide enough really to be a short lane option. This isn't Dota 2. You can't get a staff and master around him and have him actually be a successful pusher. So, not a huge fan of that. Hellborn going to follow up that Rhapsody Magnus with the Malakin now, and Calcrapula. Pretty solid Malakin player, so definitely a solid choice for them. And on top of that Kraken ultimate, that possession splash damage will be doing a lot. Legion side, second stage of bans. Dr. Repulsor, Keeper of the Forest, and Soul Stealer getting taken out by Misery. Silhouette, Puppet Master, and Dark Lady being removed by the Hellborn team. So a lot of focus on short lane heroes, and the Keeper of the Forest really the only one not to fit that MO. Both sides figuring that the other one is looking for a short laner, and I might as well get rid of some of the options that they might pick up. TDL King Plato plays a fantastic Dark Lady. I don't know if I've seen him play Syl or PM before, but I'd assume that he does do that. I think he plays Doctor definitely in Soul Stealer as well. So actually Misery's band probably going to hurt King Plato, assuming that they don't actually run that Pebbles in the short lane role. But certainly looking at like more and more of a possibility, especially as they're swapping a Thunderbringer hero, which would be very surprising. But Saint has run it a couple of times, so it's not completely out of the question. It's not like we've never seen that hero in HoN Tour Season 3. I would prefer something with a little bit more late game potential though, because yeah, thank you, that's much better. If you pick up the Thunderbringer there, you're going all in on the mid game, and if you don't take the game by about 25 to 30 minutes, then you're not going to win, especially going up against Malakin. And when you have Kraken, Magmus, and Rhapsody on your side, especially with Malakin, who actually is a carry that gets online relatively quickly, I don't think you can reasonably project a mid game victory. So it also wouldn't fit particularly well with the Tempest pick, as Tempest not really the greatest mid-game hero. He tends to need a few more items. He can group up and push, but no, Portokino, Shrunken Head, usually by that timing, he'll basically have the Astrolabe, the Ring of Sorcery, and maybe some upgraded boots. So, like in the Mage Bane pick, that's going to do a lot actually against this Hellborn team, a lot of whom are very, very reliant on spell casting and magic damage in general. Kraken in particular has a very small mana pool for the amount of spell casting that he does, so I would expect him to have a bit of an issue up against the Mage Bane. Of course, Mage Bane very elusive in general. Now, there's Pyromancer on top of that, so they do have a fair bit of lockdown here, as with Fear from Malakin's ult, as well as stuns from every single one of the other heroes on the team. So if Mage Bane gets caught, and they do have a number of, they got one targeted stun from Rhapsody, a couple of AoE stuns from Magmus and Pyromancer, and a line stun sort of from Kraken. So wouldn't be surprised with all the portal key abilities, or expected portal keys that are going to be coming out from the Hellborn team, if they don't have too much difficulty locking down and killing this Mage Bane. Difficulty. King Plato is one of the best farmers in the game, actually. He tends to be up there in terms of the GPM charts overall, as well as individual games. His Dark Ladies get 750 plus GPM, I think, multiple times now. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does something similar on this Mage Bane. And when you start hitting the 600 plus GPM mark, teams don't lose, and when I say that, I mean that as pretty much an absolute. They don't lose once you hit 600 GPM. I think there's like 2 600 GPM loss the last couple of months, and both of them were like 601 GPM. And I believe one of them was a Zibai Hag that actually faced a opposing team with 600 GPMs, or a 600 GPM hero. So in that situation, somebody had to lose. Either way, a lot of this is going to be dependent actually in the mid game on Present 25 and the Suicide Bubbles, and Misery in the middle lane on that Pebbles, because Mage Bane presumably going for a Cleaver here, which will stack quite well with the Kelp Field and the Tempest ultimate, doing a lot of that splash damage as he auto attacks. But it means that he's not going to be online for a little while. Mage Bane not a particularly great early game engagement hero when he goes for that Cleaver build. And it's like Magma's going to try to catch out this Pebbles here. There's a Lava Surge. Pyromancer stun right on top of this. Live Light's actually hit 3. I don't know if this will be enough. Yes, Staccatos are there along with the Sword Throw and Misery dying right off the bat. We'll see if they can get anybody else. I doubt they can, as the Glacius and Mage Bane both have the getaway. Mage Bane having Flash, of course, making it much more difficult for him to be locked down and killed. Remake vote coming out from NR, and something tells me that's not going to pass. But Misery off to a bad start already, and that's really significant, of course, as Pebbles definitely a snowbally hero, and if he gets 400, 450 GPM early on, he can be unstoppable. If you shut him down, he does nothing. So that's early Bloodlust, and the kill going the way of Mex on the Pyromancer. He's going to be very significant, not the least of which because Pebbles loves to pick off dual support lineups because, squishier heroes, easier to kill, that sort of thing. And especially in this situation, the 3 cores are all strength. So, and all of them have escape mechanisms for that matter. So him getting kills is not going to be particularly easy on the 3 core heroes. So you need help in order to do that, which is out of the question. But you'd like to see him be able to get solo pickoffs as much as possible, thanks to the short cooldown on his spells. And with Bloodlust, less likely that will happen. Are actually pulling his gold already. Wouldn't be surprised to see some early boots on him. It will be the mid lane of Pebbles and Glacius going up against the Magmus and Pyromancer. And this lane I actually do favor the Hellborn lineup. I think the Volcanic Touch is going to do some harass damage to Pebbles. You can also see Pyromancer doing a pretty solid job at harassing him out of the lane. Obviously, very, very low physical armor on Pebbles means that it's difficult for him to stay in lane effectively. He effectively needs he essentially needs a babysitter. He just cannot solo lane because he'll get harassed out too early by straight auto attacks. Too bad. From Pyro, but I will follow up. and that's obviously the big drawback, and a very large reason why some teams do prefer running him in that short lane is because his lane phase, his early lane phase especially, is very difficult. Obviously, mana issues coming into play as well with him being able to spam his abilities. He just does not have the mana pool or the regen to do that. And early on, doing some pretty solid recovery, but actually they're stack stuns a little bit there. I don't know if they'll have enough. That Stalagmite's there coming out, and if they hadn't stacked stuns like that, that would have been another kill. Instead, they're going to be forced to use a health pot on Pebbles, and Pyramids are taking a mana potion. We're going to see a health pot as well into the Magma, since he took a fair bit of return damage from the Glacius Freeze. So currently, YOLO Train actually only at 200 GPM, Misery at nearly 300, so that's pretty surprising. Top Rune is going to be spawning. It's just a refreshment. Glacius will pick it up and take some auto attacks from Pyromancer for his trouble. Doesn't actually cancel the health pot from Pyro, which is a little surprising, or mana pot from Pyro, is a little bit surprising. Haste Rune is in the bottom lane. Top lane, meanwhile, looks like Malakin could be in some trouble. We'll Sword Throw out, as actually this is an aggressive jungle Tempest, which is not something we see too often. Probably the least out of the three common junglers for Parasite. Happens fairly often. Ophelia, definitely not a bad aggro jungler at all, but Tempest being a little bit less easy to gank on his part, and being relatively gankable in the woods. You will often see him safe jungling, as he really doesn't want to get picked off, but action happening somewhere, bottom lane maybe. Either way, both teams sort of trying to shut down the opposing team's short lane carry. At the top lane, got Count Crapple at 250 GPM, definitely not the greatest. And you grant out the Bubbles, currently 216. So Malakin doing better than Bubbles, but not doing all that well. In the bottom lane, though, things going even worse. King Play to 170 gold per minute. And this Kraken in Rhapsody lane actually doing a lot of work. And now that Kraken's gotten a nice solid lead here, as Jonathan currently at 260 GPM. Apparently Rhapsody has decided to leave, head top lane, Staccatos are on that. Meanwhile, middle lane, actually, YOLO Train dies. Let's go back and watch that. Gets pushed back into the tower with the freeze, and the tower auto attacks helping out. Nightmare is actually getting the kill on that one, so some good Glacius gold. Always a fun thing. As I said, top lane Rhapsody has rotated, so I do like this a lot, actually, the fact that they spotted Kraken a solid lead in the bottom lane. Otherwise, he could have pretty easily gotten harassed out by Mage Bane and his mana burn, preventing Kraken from being able to charge away, which then could have resulted in a possible kill. And now, with Kraken having a pretty solid lane advantage, it's going to be much more difficult for Mage Bane to deal with him. Top lane, meantime, Tempest perhaps in some trouble, trying to get to the fog. And Bubble's going to be able to cut people off the Shell Surf. Glacia's getting tossed in and a freeze onto the Rhapsody, and Ganal going to take a death. Meanwhile, bottom lane, actually, King Plato dies, as I guess he got pushed into the trees. Let's go back and watch that. Yeah, charge into the tower. Couple auto attacks. Torrent? Is that what hit him early? I don't know. That's weird. Anyway, King Plato dies. It's a pretty significant kill. Usually not what you want to see happen, having your short laner get killed by the opponent's long laner, of course. Bit of a sticky situation because of that Rhapsody, but it's still not great. And speaking of that Rhapsody, coming up to the top lane, helping Crapula out a fair bit, as he's nearly 300 GPM, so his farm picking up thanks to the fact that he's got some support. But middle lane is actually the thing that's a bit of an issue here. Misery, 370 gold per minute. He's actually leading the charts in GPM, despite getting that Bloodlust early on. And this is really, really not where TZP wants to be, with Misery getting a nice early gold lead like this. It's going to lead into early Steam Boots, early Bottle, and eventually early Portal Key, because they do have that dual support lineup that is very prone to getting picked off. So definitely a bit of a sticky situation, and you really wouldn't have expected this, considering A, Misery got Bloodlust, which isn't that big a deal because he probably didn't lose too much gold. Probably bought out before he died, but more importantly, the Pyromancer getting the extra gold you would have imagined that would have given her a bit of an advantage when it came to being in this lane. And she does currently have boots, so that's where most of that gold went. It's perhaps not enough utilization of those boots, and turning them into auto attack harass on this Pebbles and perhaps the Glacius, both of whom she was significantly faster than. Pebbles low, no, I thought it was lower than that. It's Glacius who's super low, and actually Pyromancer's 345, so she's sllower than the Pebbles, but obviously Pebbles melee, so not that big a deal. Kraken gonna charge Mage Bane into the trees, and a bit of a man fight here. We'll see who actually comes out on top. Tempest coming over, trying to take this, and actually middle lane Max dies, so let's go watch that first, and we'll see the conclusion of the bottom fight. as Golasso back and Glacius finish her off. Pebbles is going to be okay, I think, as he heads up. No, Lava Surge is there. Meanwhile, bottom lane, it's going to be Mage Bane getting away, and now Tempest trying to finish off this Kraken, but I don't think that the auto attack is going to be enough. He takes the tree. That was a strange play. I think he perhaps saw the splashes coming back sooner, and if it did come back, I think that might have been a kill onto Tempest, but it was definitely a really, really risky play, and probably not the one that you wanted to go for if you're Kraken. He was free and clear if he just left. Meanwhile, Pyromancer coming in off the side. She did not get seen, but she's going to have to be real careful if she doesn't want to lose this Mage Bane. She isn't level 6. She can't just Blazing Strike him in the face. And yeah, he's going to see Pyromancer and just flash right away, so no problem there for King Plato. Still not doing particularly well on the GPM charts, but at least doesn't take a death. And now Kraken's going to start hunting him down, and he's going to have to be pretty careful here. If he hits the charge, no. It's again the flash, allowing him to stay alive, and that's pretty much the entire reason why Mage Bane is a good hero, is Blink is so goddamn powerful. Anyway, top lane, Count Crapula definitely recovering here. Highest farmer on his team, and now starting to challenge Misery on that Pebbles for the highest farmer in the game, so definitely in a much better position is TZP. And actually going to initiate here on the middle lane onto the Pebbles, but they're going to counter very easily with the freeze. Pyromancer done before he can get any spells off, and now Magma's perhaps in some trouble. Here comes Rhapsody, perhaps the counter. Stalagmite's missed completely. Staccatos are actually kind of late. Bottle Charge is coming through though from Magmus, and they're going to try to turn this, and Magmus is actually going to die as Misery picks up a double tab. So very well played from him, using the Bottle Charges effectively, getting his mana back, and knowing the timings for the various spells. Excellent teamwork from Glacius as well, with those freezes being very important. And now they're going to get the kill onto the Rhapsody as well. It's a hat trick from Misery. And Glacius nearly dying here. Drops a ward before he leaves. Should be able to get out free and clear. And 8-minute rune going to spawn in just a few moments anyway. Looks like Pyromancer trying to chase down this Glacius, but not going to find anything else. So 8-minute rune will spawn. We'll see what Pebbles gets. If the RNG is on his side, it's not. Just a refreshment. Top lane is a haste. Bottom, we're going to see a teleport come in. It is a Tempest. And we'll see if Kraken can get killed. Tempest can be spotted by this word of sight from Jonathan, so he should be well aware of any incoming jungle ganks and should be perfectly safe on that front, unless he gets all his mana burned, in which case it could be some bad times for him. Anywho, approaching 10 minutes in, and we currently have a 2.5k gold lead for the Legion side, and a 3.5k gold experience lead for them as well. So Night Raid looking good early on, and Misery on the Pebbles already Steam Boots, Bottle, and most of the way to his portal key. So we're probably looking at an 11-minute portal key or so for this Pebbles. Not too far off at all, maybe even 10.5 minutes, and that's going to be pretty ridiculously amazing. Jump again once with the Glacius, but not going to be any follow-up. Pyromancer and Rhapsody both there looking to support Yellow Train on this Magnus, and things getting a little bit out of hand at this point, actually, for TZP side. The gold lead isn't insurmountable by any means, but it's really kind of bad to be this far down this early, especially against a team that has as much mid-game presence as the Legion side does in the Pebbles and the Bubbles. And we're going to start seeing tower pushes as well, but they have this gold lead without even taking towers yet, and they do have a pretty strong push team, especially with that Tempest. So I'm going to jump on Pebbles in the middle lane. Eruption going to be charged after the Pyro stun, and we're going to see a combo counter on Magmus, and he's still going to die thanks to that Rev Ward, so Pebbles is just like, come at me, bro. Torrent coming down onto him. Illusions from Kraken as they will get the kill. Meanwhile, Pyromancer in the background dying here as well. They're going to have to figure out which one of these things is real. Tempest Ultimate might be the best way to do that. Glacial Downpour finds the real one. There's a Tempest Hole on top of it, and Kraken, no no way he's getting out of that. It ends up being 3 kills in favor of Legion's side. They do lose their Pebbles, but I think they'll take it. He now has a portal key, and they get a double tap on Nightmares on that Glacius, 230 GPM for him. Nearly the same as their Suicide Bubble, because actually doing not badly at 250 gold per minute himself. So a lot of stuff coming up Night Raid here. And TZP gonna have to do a lot to get back into this game. Their initiators, in particular this Magnus, are really having a suffer time. And I really don't think that Magnus should have had this many problems in his lane.
Have overrun a Hellborn FOB.
Seems like, especially after that Bloodlust, it should have gone much, much better for the Hellborn team. And Bubbles and Magnus sort of dancing around each other, but there's the Pebbles portal key. Initiation, the Kelp Growth there as well. They'll get Yellow Train again. Magnus there, Paramount's in the background taking a fair bit of damage, but they're going to counter this, as here comes Malakin. Present 25 on the Bubbles is dead. I don't think Misery is going to be taking too much damage, that he'll just walk it off and disengage. Bottom lane, meanwhile, Magebane could be in some trouble. Release Kraken right in his face, and King Plato just dies. So, if you can catch Magebane, he's not all that tanky. And the Kraken burst definitely doing a lot, but now Kraken could be in some trouble. There goes the Misery portal key once again. We'll see if they can lock him down for long enough. They're going to charge forward, looking for the aggressive auto attacks, but the Glacial Blast going to prevent any further damage onto the Pebbles. Meanwhile, Tempest getting chased down by the dual supports, but I don't think they have the wherewithal to catch him here, as Tempest is just a little bit too fast with those Striders on him. And neither support having upgraded boots means that they can't really do too much. Pebbles going to be in trouble, or not Pebbles, Magnus being in trouble once again, so Yellow Train continuously dying 1, 5, and 2, and just really having a pretty poor game. And after that, I keep saying it, but that Bloodlust, man, and they did not do anything with it in the middle lane, and this Pebbles is all of a sudden taking off, which is exactly what I talked about before, is you cannot let Pebbles do this sort of thing to you. 450 GPM at 12.5, 13 minutes into the game is just no. Yeah. Cookies on the Tempest, 300 GPM. King Plato's Magebane still not farming all that well, but at this point, Misery is going to create so much space that it doesn't matter. Nice blink away before the charge comes through from Kraken. No ultimate even available from Jonathan, so it's not like it would matter all that much. He can drop the Torrent and some good auto attacks, but there's really no way anything is happening here. Tempest actually gets spotted by the Magnus Pyromancer combination. That's going to spell his death, as they have enough lockdown to take him out. Meanwhile, in the top lane, actually Misery getting the jump onto Count Crapula along with Bubbles, and that's a very nice kill, as they need to shut down this Malakin. So Misery and Co. up 5k gold, 5.5k experience. And like I said before, by no means insurmountable, but at this point something TZP definitely needs to be worried about. And they really, really need some initiation potential. They are not particularly close to a portal key on either Kraken or Magnus. Both of them are going to need it in order for them to really do too much in this game. So, like, you see this Magnus, he's just sitting here watching Kraken farm. This is a really bad thing. He's sitting under a ward of sight. So they see him, and they know he's not getting anything. He's already had a really suffer time, and then try to shut down this Pyromancer. It's easy to kill, as Max hits the Blazing Strike on Glacius, but really not nearly enough damage to kill him. Nothing that Magnus can do from there because he has no portal key. And so you chase down the Rhapsody in the middle lane. No, they're not. Now Crapula died top. I just missed that. And it's doubles the portal key and a lot of side attacks. So speaking of initiation potential and portal keys, Bubbles has a portal key. And Tempest here can get locked down a little bit, release Kraken. Actually, Tempest Hole went through, which was a little bit iffy. They did not have the follow-up damage to do anything with that, so Cookies perhaps a Panic Hole, and that didn't go very well for them, so that's a nice something, I guess. Springhelm Creep getting a stun onto Magebane. Not too much follow-up from that, because again, no PKs. Kraken now not super far off of his 150 gold left, and that's going to help him out a lot, as Kraken is extremely portal key dependent. But Magma's still not particularly close, and they really need to give him some priority farm. I'd like to see them stack the Ancients and actually have Magma stake them, because at this point, Crown Crapula's farm is important, but getting Magnus into this game is more important, as there's nothing for him to do. He can't farm safely anywhere without his portal key, and he's just going to continuously get picked off because he's not tanky enough to survive the burst from Pebbles. Anyway, Pebbles, speaking of him, going to jump on the Kraken in the bottom lane. Glacial Blast are there to help keep him locked down and kill him. Bottom lane, they'll get a tower as well. So that's only their second tower kill at 15 minutes into the game, which is fairly surprising. I would imagine that Tempest should be able to push a little bit more effectively than that, but to be fair, his farm's actually reasonably bad. 264 GPM at 16 minutes in, currently sitting into Strider's Ring of Sorcery and halfway or so to his Astrolabe. You would have expected to see the Astro as well as the Ring by now, especially going the Strider's route if we're a typical Tempest game. Oh well. Cookie's slight underperformance here, definitely not really hurting NR overall, as Misery is putting the team on his back and saying, guys, I'm going to make up for that early misplay, and go ahead and create all the space you're going to need. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Kraken getting jumps by the combo, freezes on him as well. Release the Kraken actually hits both heroes, and there's a lot of TP support coming in. Two-man Lava Surge from Magnus. They also hit the Blazing Strike onto King Plato. He's dead. Perhaps the Staccato is helping to finish off Misery actually on that pedal. Sorry, Nightmares. So they get two extremely important kills. You gotta pick two heroes to kill on this Legion side. Those are the two. Cost them 4 TPs, but definitely a good engagement from TZP side. And I don't know who got those kills. It was Gnal picking up both.
The Legion have overrun a Hellborn
The killer
FOB.
of Gladiator. Okay. Anyway, Rhapsody, gonna appreciate that, no doubt. 184 GPM for her, as both she and Mex on the Pyromancer are suffering. Neither of them doing too well on the farm department. Of course, that's pretty much to be expected when you get Pebbles who's farming as well as he is in this game. They're having some pretty serious issues finding safe places to farm or even do anything, unless they get caught out by Misery and his lovely portal key. 17-minute cleave on Magebane is okay, not great, but it's fine. 330 GPM. Considering his lane was pretty heavily contested, that's not that bad. Of course, his farm is going to start to skyrocket as he manages to pick up a lot of creep kills in a relatively short amount of time. There you go. It's helping. And obviously the blink allowing him to farm in relatively dangerous areas without being too concerned about his health and safety. Right now, perhaps his only real fear is the fact that he has 834 health, so he definitely can be bursted down right now. He's also not particularly fast, sitting on just red boots right now, so I expect the steam boots are going to be arriving in short order, as he's currently about 200 gold away from those. And then we'll probably see some tank-up items, because he probably needs a little bit more health than he currently has to survive the initiation from the Hellborn team once they start to pick up portal keys, which they have done. So Magnus and Kraken both have the portal key, and their initiation is far superior now that they have that. In the lane, speaking of that initiation, Misery farming all by himself. They need to jump right now if they're going to jump. Kraken gets the charge off into the trees, releases Kraken right on his face, and that will be a nice, easy kill. So Misery getting a taste of his own medicine right there. And apparently, or I wouldn't be surprised if he's not a huge fan of portal keys after that. So, sad times for him. Tempest meanwhile farming a little bit aggressively here in the Hellborn Woods, and they really don't have too much vision for him to be doing this. I'm kind of surprised he's not getting punished harder than he currently is. Perhaps even Pyro can clean up the elementals, but taking advantage of the Hellborn stacks that are there mostly for Malakin. Malakin, he will be farming the middle lane, as they're perhaps put a little bit of pressure on this tower. They've taken absolutely 0 towers in this game so far. And the middle one, about half health, bottom one, about half health, top one, about half health. So I'd like to see them get a little bit of a concerted effort to take down towers in the next couple of minutes. They currently have a level 2 ultimate on both Kraken and Magnus, and they also both have portal keys. So if this is a time to push, if there is a time to push, this is definitely it. They've shown their portal keys already on both of those strength initiators, and there's really no reason for them not to group up and try to take some tower gold, get some support money for wards so that they can stop getting continuously picked off by this Pebbles. all comes back around, man. You carries, you get some farm for your supports, they get you some wards, you don't die as much, your GPM goes up. It's just like a giant symbiote. Or a team. Top lane, meanwhile, looks like they might see some action as Tempest and Bubbles are over here. Malikan perhaps looking for initiation. Actually, Bubbles going to spot him out, and they're sort of going to not see each other. Bubbles gets the portal key off before the sword throw hits him, and that'll be the end of that. Kraken, no, going to find Tempest as the word of sight was right there. Release Kraken right on Tempest's face. Possession is there as well, and they probably should have figured out exactly how many ultimates they needed to use right there, because they definitely did not need to use both. If they wanted to use possession, fine, but they probably could have jumped him after the Kraken charge went through, put some staccatos down, and had Malikan in there in his face. But probably the better route was to just use the Kraken ultimate and say, screw it, don't really need you to drop the Mali ulti anyway. Pyromancer, is he dead? No, he's not. An excellent stun there from Magebane. Finally does die. Eruption coming through, though, on to Misery. Mana Void really not doing all that much damage, and it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade so far. King Plato getting away with the blink. Probably not going to be able to chase him. Rookie comes through from Magnus. He's got no Lava Surge there. He's got it as he just gets the mana back. I don't know if they have enough before the blink is black up. Yep, there it is. And it looks like King Plato will be just fine, as, again, locking down Magebane's a problem. Anyway, Freeze goes on to Kraken, as well as the Glacial Downpour. He's going to push back on Bubbles, but the two-man Kelpfield is there. King Plato's like, guess what, bitches, it's me. Gets 1 and 2 kills, actually, only one of those going to King Plato. But double tap, nonetheless, very well set up there from Present 25. As he is in the right place at the right time, eating the Kraken charge into a Kelpfield onto 2, and poor Yellow Train getting caught in Kraken's over-aggression. So things still going the way of NR for the most part, but TZP getting a little bit back into this game as those portal keys are doing a lot to help. And actually, Malikan still out farming this Magebane, despite the fact that Magebane has picked up the Rune Cleaver. Malikan just with the Incendiarius and the Whispering Helm, doing very well. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Shrunken Head come out as his next item. Fair bit of magic damage and stuns on this Legion team. He has free reign in these team fights. He's going to be difficult to kill. Tempest Ultimate, obviously, the only real thing that's going to lock him down once he hits that Shrunken Head. And other than that, he'll be able to keep himself up with Whispering Helm as well as the Life Sword, as long as he toggles appropriately. Legion team, taking some resources from the Hellborn side. Always good to control the map and control your abilities, your enemy's ability to get gold. Portal keys going off at more or less the same time, and Misery gets out of there. Bit of a delayed reaction, it felt like. Both sides, to be fair. I felt like Misery probably had PK'd a little bit earlier, and maybe Sword Throw could have stopped that, but oh well. Looking at items in general, as nope, no, not, because Bubble's getting jumped on in the background. King Plato going to get locked down by the ultimate from Kraken, but they're going to turn this as the push book is there to save him. Primary stun does hit 2 people. Tempest looking for a hole, but it's perhaps the Glacial Blast only thing actually spin off background, getting all the Rhapsody, getting destroyed. Kelpfield goes through onto Pyromancer. That's going to be a kill as Bubbles takes cover, and actually Mana Void gets the kill for King Plato. So again, probably not necessary, but they get 3 free picks as they use a couple of ultimates, and they still actually have the Tempest Hole as well as Glacial Downpour to continue this push, which is exactly what they'll do. And these 5 heroes are up here, taking out this tier 2 tower. Looks like we're going to see Magebane 4-pack bot to defend that, as well as get some free experience. Count Cracula here probably doesn't want to be too in the face of this Magebane, as he's going to start to lose his mana very, very quickly, but King Plato realizing not a fight he wants to take. It's the rest of his team continuing to push top and pressuring the base fairly effectively now. Elementals will split. They'll continue doing a pretty good amount of damage to this tower. Looks like Portal Keys once again going on at the same time. Hellborn going to be mount a successful defense as their respawns happen. Bottom lane, meanwhile, it actually is going to be the jump onto King Plato as he's dead thanks to the charge, and now Glacius also going to pay. As Nightmare's actually had an onslaught streak going 6-1 and 8 now, even after that death, 250 GPM. Definitely a very good game here for this Glacius. And has been a bit of an unsung hero. I haven't talked about him too much, but that tablet as well, of course. And up top, Yellow Train is dead. Sad times for him. Shouts no. But they looked down and whispered, no. He probably shouted, save me. Anyway, has the tablet, which was integral in keeping King Plato alive in that engagement earlier that allowed them to get 3 kills, of course, pushing him right out of that Kraken ultimate. Obviously, Tablet, a fantastic item in pretty much every game. And even 2 of them, not bad. Such a good positioning tool for only 2,000 gold. Real good if you know how to use it. And speaking of that, they do have 2 tablets. In fact, his Bubbles has one, and he's looking to go for a Hellflower next. That's not a bad choice. Going to be able to lock down the Malakin pretty effectively with his Blink. And Tempest, currently sitting on Astrolabe, bringing up Sorcery, Striders, and Investments, so he's up to 300 GPM. And definitely improving. Of course, thanks a lot to his team, who have done a ton to open up the map, open up the game, for a very likely now win. They're 11.5k up in both gold and experience. Magebane picking up Firebrand after Rune Cleaver, as well as the Abyssal Skull. I like the Abyssal Skull. I'm not a huge fan of the Firebrand. I really hope he's getting Frostburn here. He just needs some more survivability. You currently sit him at 1,000 health. He's currently on Int Treads, though, so obviously it's going to be a 2,300, I believe it was, when he's on Strength Treads. Anyway, Mesri going to jump in the middle lane onto Pyromancer, but they're going to get countered pretty quickly, as there's a Magma Stun, followed by the Rhapsody, but again, this push book out from Nightmares, and Pebbles is just a little bit too damn tanky with that Mighty Blade and the Soul's Bulwark, and they will be able to push the Hellborn team back. So good counter initiation from the guys on Yellow Train, but actually, or on TZP. Anyway, release Kraken on there you go, King Plato. That's why he needs health, because he did not survive the first. Tempest Hole in the background, getting onto 2. Eruption coming through on everybody, but a silence and actually push him into the Tempest Hole. They also hit the 2-man Kelp field. They do kill Cookies in the meantime. Looks like Malakin has a Shrunken Head active, finally going to wear off. Pyromancer stun onto Pebbles, 40k away from Kraken, and now Malakin not really sure if he wants to stay in this fight, but realizing quickly he probably should have ported to that sword throw, and it's a double tap from Present 25. We'll see if we can get a triple kill, a couple more attacks. We'll finish off this Pyromancer. It's going to be an Onslaught hat trick, and Kraken milled PK on out as he managed to get some health back. So another good fight there from Night Raid. They take 4 heroes in exchange for just 2. King Plato dying early in that fight. They don't even need him. Misery on this Pebbles doing a ton of work. Present 25 actually has 425 GPM with the Bubbles, which is pretty ridiculous, considering his start was only mediocre, and he's had to cede a lot of this map to both Pebbles and Magebane. Meanwhile, it will be Kraken who's jumping in on Bubbles, but again, don't go for it.
Ursa has gone kinetic.
Geos is literally the best item in the game for Magebane, but I think he can wait on it. I'm guessing it's going to give him some tanky presence, because, like we saw in that last fight, he just got blown up. Like, they've got Pyromancer and Kraken, both of whom have a pretty substantial amount of burst damage, and especially if he's going to sit on Int Treads, he's got 1,000 health, and no armor, and no magic armor. He's not going to survive these fights. So it's great that he has 450 GPM, and it's great that he's the highest armor on his team, but he's not going to get anything out of that if he just gets killed. And he's going to just get killed, because it's pretty easy to catch him and kill him. So, sure, Geo's fantastic, but that's only going to work if, yeah, his position needs to be a lot better, so you're definitely right about that. He was up on the front lines, and when you have Blink, and you have a Tempest, and you have a Pebbles, and you have a Bubbles, all of whom have solid to very good farm, there's no reason for you to be ahead of those heroes. But at the same time, I do feel like he could possibly use a little bit more tankiness in general. I'm not really sure how he would go about that, to be honest. But it feels like he could use it. Because I mean, he shouldn't get Frostburn because he wants the Geometer's Bane. Basher, maybe? Give him a Mighty Blade and a Quick Blade, so a little bit of health, a little bit of armor, and some attack speed. Wouldn't be the worst thing, especially because this Legion lineup is very good game oriented, so we could get a little more active if you had a Bash. Anyway, they will find this Kongor out double damage rune on Malakin, not doing it fast enough, and everybody's inside the pit. Rhapsody ultimate not doing enough, as that's cancelled anyway, and everybody in the Hellborn's like getting blown up. Kraken ultimate background not doing enough, as Misery has the Shrunken Head active, and everybody's dead. Nobody's surviving. Nobody dying, excuse me, for the Legion team, and that's game. So, Night Raid, taking the first one of this 2-game series. And it took him about half an hour to get the victory, but it's definitely looking good through pretty much all of that game. And yeah, Blessed Orb from Geos and Illusion's okay, sure. But then maybe even get the Blessed Orb first. It's very inefficient stats, but just saying, wouldn't be the worst thing. Anyway, my frame rate all of a sudden is really horrible. So that will be it for game 1, and I'm go to game 2 in just a moment.